Welcome to the Latin Wealth Podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating the Latino community about entrepreneurship, investing, and business.
Yo, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday. Super excited about today's conversation. First and foremost, because we got Jeremiah back on the episode last week. It was just solo. I was like, damn, my partner's not here, but it's all good. He's back. Very excited about very excited about today's conversation. We're going to get into a couple different things that is going on in the world right now that will directly impact and affect you guys. And man, before we do that, let me see if I can move some stuff around. I have a screenshot from somebody that left a comment on one of the videos. I want to give him a shout out. So his YouTube name is Joe MZD. I had to take a screenshot of this because shout out to this individual. He said, just got my certification on AI prompting, and it was eye-opening to see, just as Jeremiah said, you can extract what you need from generative AI with the right prompt. I'm seeing firsthand what I hear from others about AI, how it has improved their physical and mental health. So shout out to this individual. He's clearly been tapped into Latin Wealth, which is dope. And, Jeremiah definitely has been a big proponent on getting your AI certification, learning about AI and whatnot. So I wanted to give that individual a shout out. That was super dope to see.
Shout out.
Yep, 100%. But with that being said, let's get into today's topics that we're going to be hitting on. We're going to be diving a little bit more into about the Trump tariffs and their impact on business, shoppers, on you guys, on Canada, Mexico, China. We're going to be diving into that and really spending some time on that subject. And we're also going to be diving into some announcements that he made about the U.S. crypto reserves. First and foremost, Jeremiah, how you feeling? How you doing today, man? Welcome back.
Thank you, man. By the way, I told you, like I said earlier, I thought the episode was better. I was like, dang, maybe I need to take another vacation. I was like, let me hit Chris and be like, yo, I think I'm gonna stay for another 2 weeks. No, right. I appreciate it, man. Happy to be back. Always happy to be here. Appreciate the comment, by the way. The gentleman that sent in the comment, we appreciate that. Yeah, man, feels good.
100%. So look, this is what we're going to be diving into today. If you guys didn't know, the U.S. has they have multiple trading partners, but the top three trading partners, if you guys did not know, and I think it's maybe Jeremiah, if you can correct me the exact order, but the top three are Mexico, China, and Canada. All right, those are the top three trading partners of the United States, if you did not know. Now, if you also did not know, the U.S. President Donald Trump long threatened tariffs are here. So we spoke about this multiple times, how it was kind of threatened and then it was prolonged. While they are officially here. So really escalating a trade war with China, Canada, and Mexico, our top three trading partners. All right. So Trump's 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico went into effect Tuesday, along with a heightened 20% on Chinese goods. All right. So before we go into all the background information conversations, I want to show a video of how Canada and Mexico have responded to this decision. So I'm going to make sure I share the screen, share it with the sound on, and let's go ahead and share this clip from YouTube. Jeremiah, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear it once I play it.
The United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense.
President Claudia Sheinbaum said that Mexico will respond with its own tariffs on U.S. goods.
Pero es inconcebible que no se piense en el daño que se va a causar tanto a ciudadanos y empresas de los Estados Unidos por el incremento en los precios de los artículos que se producen en nuestro país, como también el daño que se va a provocar por detener la creación de empleos en ambos países. Nadie gana con esta decisión.
Sheinbaum said she would provide details on Sunday, a delay that may indicate that Mexico still hopes to de-escalate the trade war.
All right, I wanted to share that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And a couple other things. We do have a quote from the Chinese Foreign Ministry, and he quote and says, "If a war is what U.S. wants, be a tariff war, a trade war, or any type of war, we're ready to fight to the end." All right. So experts say that consumers and businesses will be hit the hardest. Companies big and small will face higher costs on goods they buy from other countries, and they could have little resource but to hike prices themselves. All right. So I want to give a quick story, kind of a funny story. Jeremiah, before we hit record, you said you looking a little swole. I've been trying to eat more to get bigger and whatnot. Been working out more. So, on average, I've been trying to eat like 4 to 6 eggs a day at least. All right. So we buy a lot of eggs throughout the week. So recently, the grocery store they're like, hey, only one carton of egg per person per day. All right. So I'm like, cool, wifey, you get one, I get one. We'll be good for the week. 2 carton of eggs. Came back from Mexico, went to the grocery store, no eggs on the shelf. None. I'm like, damn, what am I gonna eat this week, right? So I say that to say that not to only be funny, but I'm sure that you guys have seen that effect with whether it's gas prices that are up, egg prices that are up, or things that are not on the shelves. And there's multiple other things that are also being affected. But before we get into other things that are being affected, Jeremiah, how are you feeling about everything that we just went over in the video and whatnot?
I feel like people should not be surprised. This is what Donald Trump said he was going to do. This is what he promised he was going to do. But what I feel people are probably surprised by is Canada, Mexico, and China, which they shouldn't. Maybe they're not surprised about China, but they're definitely surprised by Mexico and Canada's responses.
Mhm.
Usually, when America is the aggressor, and they push their weight around and they bully people, the people relent. They back down. They just kind of do whatever we want. No one's scared of America anymore. Trump's probably mental capacity is in question with some of the decisions that he's made. And you just don't disrespect your allies in that manner. NAFTA was created, the North American Free Trade Association, that was created to respect and to grow the kinship between all three of us here on this continent. It's almost an act of treason against your own allies to go back and, increase tariffs and do these major changes to them when you've already established, the free trade and that it moves and this is the infrastructure and the way that we work together. So I think people are a little bit surprised by Trudeau's response, and it has nothing to do with, politics. They say because Trudeau is liberal, right, or left leaning, that's why he's doing that to Trump, and that's not factual. He's doing it because he's taking care of his country.
Yeah.
You'd see Canada taking a steep dive. And what most people didn't know before this started was that Canada supplies 25% of our oil imports.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Talk
you
about
know, the East Coast itself is ran off of Canada's oil that they import. So, it's kind of like if that's the place that you want to get to. I heard another quote from the premier, which is like the governor of Ontario, Toronto, and he said he'll cut everything.
it. Mm.
He has permission from Trudeau. He'll cut everything. He'll cut the oil. He'll cut the power off. And I respect it. And I think that Americans should maybe see things from a different point of view. You should take yourself out of the lens of being a red-blooded American, take a step out and look at the holistic point of this and see how this is probably not the right direction to go with allies. It's not a good place to be. We talked about it last week, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. The European Union they're not good with Trump. It's not working. right? These are all allies, all people we've built relationships with, we trade with, business flows back and forth between us and Europe. This is the way things have worked for years. And so people are saying, well, it hasn't worked. I could say that it hasn't worked, but what I could say is here domestically, there's maybe some rules, some things we need to change, cut down on spending government wise, things like that. I agree with that.
Hmm.
But I think the method in which he's doing it is a bit crazy. Shouts out to Mexico as well. Their president, she's not having it. So
Yeah, she's staying on business.
I respect both sides, and I see exactly where they're coming from, and I don't disagree with them in any point because, you know, diplomacy and trade. This is what's important. As Mexico is, shot up to be our number one partner there. These are the things that are super important. So you want to keep that business flowing. And I think he said that he's doing this to make sure that jobs come back to America. But
Hmm.
as we've stated, there's no infrastructure here for those jobs. And with inflation being at the place that it is, we can't pay American workers what we need to pay them if the jobs were to come back.
Good
So I
point.
don't, I hear what people are saying, but it just doesn't make economic sense.
100%. You mentioned the gas prices. So
Yeah.
Canada is by far America's biggest foreign supplier of oil. In 2024, Canada shipped to the United States 98 billion, would it be
Would it
$1 billion
be?
worth of oil, well ahead of number two, who is Mexico at 12 billion. So number one, number two, you're in a trade war with. All right, computers, clothes, toys, the things that we all enjoy buying. Tariffs on China can greatly affect this. The U.S. imported more than $32 billion in toys, games, sporting goods from China last year. Alcohol. I was going to make a joke about this, but tariffs can raise prices for these, alcohol coming from Mexico, tequila or
Sure,
Canadian whiskey.
sure.
Tariffs will hit Mexican avocados and groceries and whatnot in
Mm.
2024. U.S. bought more than $49 billion in agricultural products from Mexico, including 40% of imported vegetables and 40% of fruit. By the way, just came back from Mexico. Avocados out there just taste way different than the ones
Yeah,
out
they do.
here
Yeah,
in
they do.
in Dallas. But you'll see an increase in prices of things like that as well. So yeah, it's just we before we hit record, I'm just like, yo, is there something that I'm missing? Like, help me out. I don't really understand. And I've said since the beginning of this conversation and since we brought this up, I'm the relationship guy. I know
Yep,
I'm not a president, but if I was, I'm building relationship with everybody. And
correct.
I'm on everybody's good side, right? But
Yeah.
again, I'm not a president.
I mean, this is what we said before he was elected, that he's not, his mentality is a bully mentality.
Hmm.
That doesn't work in today's society, especially with the strides that everyone else is to surpass or get closer to America. We're not in the place we were 30, 40 years ago where we just dominated everyone, and people are catching up. And the mentality of not working in stride with each other, hand in hand, and actually sitting down and saying what's best for the countries and for the world itself, to just come in and think that America's going to bully people is, I mean, on top of that, we talked about the Panama Canal. I want to just shot. I'm showing you the things, right? The connection. BlackRock just took over both sides of the canal. How does that help us as America? I mean, we're like, well, it's American owned. Yeah, but does that really help the common working man? Does that help? I
Right.
want you to think about that. So now a privately owned company, not a government, the privately owned company can set rates of shipping that comes in and out through that canal, which then raises the prices on top of tariffs that you're getting.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So
And
is it
it's
really
not like you
helping?
said, it's not directly benefiting us, it's benefiting them.
Yeah. So it's like I don't know what people I believe, and this is one thing that I know. Americans are extremely emotional, right? They move off emotion. Logic is not very strong. Critical thinking is not very strong in our nation. It's hence the reason our literacy rate has dropped. Why China kicks our butt when it comes to just being a logical, like just these are the facts. We have to move in this fashion. We move a lot off of emotion, and I feel that people um, they voted off of emotion And I think what's going to happen in America is we made the bed and we got to lay in it. I think it's going to be, I don't just me, my personal opinion. I don't think it'll be anything what people thought. I think it'll be the opposite. It'll get a lot harder. And and what's crazy is next election, those emotions
Mm-hmm.
that are created from what we thought will swing
Right.
people the other direction. This is what
Right.
we've done
Yeah.
through every little era. We just swing back and forth because it's emotion.
100%. And so I want to kind of dive into a video I seen where the individual in the video, he was saying, it could this trade war is going to obviously impact America, but it can also impact other countries as well, such as China. So he gave the example of, okay, let's put it in a scenario of if a Chinese made manufactured car was being sold in America, um, instead of them raising the price of the car of that vehicle, China would take a hit because they would have to be competitive, and they would have to keep their price the same price as an American made car.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that?
I mean, I think that's counterintuitive, and maybe that's what our government wants or what Trump wants. But if we're saying, what is our
Because
reason we don't like
and
China?
maybe if I can interject and explain myself a little bit
Oh, go
more for
ahead.
the people out there. So what I'm basically saying, instead of the tariffs being passed on the buyer, let's
Mm-hmm.
just say it's $12,000 additional for a
Mm-hmm.
$20,000 car, so now it's $32,000. You can get an American made car for $20,000. You would just go with the cheaper car, right?
Sure.
What the video was basically saying is China would have to eat that cost,
Yeah.
and to maintain competitiveness, they would still sell the car at $20,000.
Yeah. So it's a double loss. And what I'm saying is why don't we like China? We don't like China because we said they're communists and they mistreat their people. I'm just that's what right our
Right,
government while we don't like them or whatever really we don't like them because technological advances and the things
right.
that they do
That's what it
they're
is.
they're right they're going to blow past us so that's really it's competition so we really don't like them for that reason but if that's the basis wouldn't we want to allow them to sell their car the way they need to sell it so that the people in China would benefit because if we're talking about people right because that's why we if we're saying we don't like them because they're mistreating their people wouldn't that be America mistreating China citizens?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're like, how? Well, I mean, more money is going to be if they can't pay, if they can't, but like it's an influx. If money's staying here and can't go there, programs and things for Chinese citizens don't, you know, I'm
Yeah,
just,
100%. Yeah, this whole thing is weird, man. Like, I just feel like, okay, if you want to implement tariffs,
yeah.
shouldn't there be like a quantitative target or a goal or some type of milestone that these other countries should meet? Like, I can understand it a little bit more if they're like, okay, in 90 days, I want to see the percentage of fentanyl drop by X amount. If not, there's going to be a tariff on X, Y, and Z. Like to me, that makes a little bit more sense than just you coming in trying to strong arm and say, "Hey, we're putting tariffs on you guys."
But that's the rules, right? That's the stuff that we tell people, but it's not the actual reason why we're doing what we're doing. The reason why the most of the stuff we're doing is money, right? And if I'm a president that has bankrupt several companies and done several, I'm not very good at business, honestly, if you look at it. I'm trying to make as much money as I can for me and my family. How do I do that? I align with billionaire companies, right? $1 trillion companies, and I make them richer. And then I make tell them they have to pay tribute to me.
Mm,
What this is, we spoke on this several times before. It's Vlad Putin. Go read about Vladimir Putin and how he actually got to where he was. This is the same play that he ran in Russia. It's the exact same play. You don't believe me? Go research it. That's literally. I think Vlad Putin. We've said it before. I think he's the richest man on earth because you don't know how much he has. He's not registering how much he has. But all the oligarchs over there, this is the same thing he did to them. It's I
mm,
get in power, right? I make billionaire, and we've seen it. Those Facebook. We had we have Facebook, we had Amazon, of course we have Tesla. All of the three richest people in the United States and dang near in the world went to Mar-a-Lago. and they basically kiss the ring. This is the same thing that's happened. So it's the same play. I'm trying to make money. It's not because of fentanyl. I don't think the government even cares about people dying from fentanyl, just to be honest. And the reason I say that is because we sanction FDA for prescription pills that kill people in much greater
Mm.
numbers. So that couldn't be the reason
Yeah.
that we're actually worried. We're not really worried about people. That's false. That's a farce that we keep up. It's about money. If I can make X amount of margin, more money on my exports, and charge you and make even more money on that, that's what I'm going to do because I'm in power. So I'll just do it so I make money.
Mm.
That's me. That's what I see. I don't know. I don't know if that's what everybody sees. I don't
Yeah.
believe that. I don't believe that the government cares about people dying of
You
fentanyl
don't think it's the
because we
fentanyl,
ship
the
guns over there.
immigration and stuff like that?
I mean, we ship and then we ship guns over there. But we're not putting gun laws in place to stop the guns from going to Mexico because they don't make the guns. We do. So you can't, right? Because the cartel without guns doesn't have the same power. So where they get the guns from? It's from us. So are we? You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
But most people don't sit down and logically think through this stuff like this. They don't sit and like connect everything together. You just hear something on the news and they tell you something, and you're like, "Yeah, he's fighting for this." No, he's not. He's fighting to make money. That's the basis of this, and that's
Mm.
most politicians. Not to be like that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Democrat and Republican. It's not really for the American people. But I'm just, we keep hoping that the American people will wake up, read,
Mm.
understand, and like,
Mm.
huh, this doesn't benefit us. Why are we doing this?
Right. You know what other way makes some money?
Talk to me.
Crypto. Trump
Oh,
announces U.S. crypto reserve on Sunday. And so the U.S. will be creating a crypto reserve to boost growing industry. This is a quote directly from President Trump. A U.S. crypto reserve will elevate this critical industry after years of corrupt attacks by the Biden administration, which is why my executive order on a digital asset directed the Presidential Working Group to move forward on a crypto reserve that includes Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, and Cardano. All right, this is what Trump said as he posted on social media. Of course, when he posted this and this came out, the prices of all these coins surged after this announcement. What are your thoughts on this?
go back and run a report of ownership previous to the announcement and then after. It's all a money grab. This is how
Yeah,
you balance things out. What you do is you break build, right? So he breaks everything else on the side of
yeah.
the economy. He breaks things with the tariffs. It's costing people more money. There's no eggs. Gas is going to increase, right? Housing, actual housing supplies have been jacked up. People aren't buying houses. The cost of the mortgage, all this stuff is messed up in the economy. So what do? You lopside it and you do the balance and say, well, but
Mm.
I'm going to do crypto for you. And so you blind people and it's a distraction. Is it beneficial? Of course, but we knew crypto wasn't going anywhere when big
Right.
institutions started buying into crypto. We knew it was done then. Once the ETF hit, it solidified. There's way too much institutional money from big guys for this to ever fail. It'll
Mm.
never fail. So does this help? Of course it does. It solidifies that, the crypto market is going to be here to stay. There's programs that are going to start utilizing it. Ripple itself, Bank of America said with more regulation, they would start using Ripple for their payments instead of the Swift. So yeah, definitely helps. But at the end of the day, it was already solidified. All the institutional money that's in it hasn't been going anywhere. So I really just see it as it helps, but I see it as a distraction.
Mm.
If I'm breaking everything else over here, I'll give you this, and then you focus on your new toy. Meanwhile,
Mm.
everything else is,
Interesting.
going.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. No, I love that. And I want to go back to as we start to wrap this thing up, what you said, um, hoping that we wake up. This is actually how I wanted to end this episode is, you guys have heard me talk multiple times on social on here. I'm big on developing skills, educating yourself, and creating multiple streams of income for yourself based on those skill sets, right? So I think that's something that you have to continue to focus on during this time because man, they're talking about I even heard things about a new stimulus check which that could be something else to distract you. And Lord knows how that would affect the economy with these tariffs and whatnot. I don't even know if I want that to happen. But look, developing skills, educating yourself, protecting your family and your friends as close as possible. It's going to be very important during this time. And we don't want to fear monger, but again, we always want to come on here, give you the reality, show you what's going on. Um, and yeah, I mean, give you guys as much advice as possible.
I mean,
Jeremiah, don't be surprised if I get my property in Japan, man. Don't be surprised, bro.
I would
Or
congratulate you, bro. I've already told you. You already know where we're headed. So I
yeah,
just, hey, hopefully people wake up. Like you said, self-development is very important. Um, our politicians are able to do the things that they do because we don't read
mm,
and we don't have our brain. We don't do critical thinking anymore. We don't do critical thinking sessions. We don't stop and analyze what's going on. So
yeah,
anybody can tell you anything.
yeah.
Hopefully people wake up. But if they don't, hey,
Yeah, it's gonna get interesting. They call it doom scrolling when you just scrolling. You know what I'm saying? And I think I love what you said about a doom scrolling like on social media, but I love what you said about like, yo, taking the time to step back and think. And I think that is something that is lost in our society nowadays where we
yeah,
don't even have room or the time. We feel like we don't have the time to think. We're so caught up in the next thing scrolling, this, that, that. We don't really
yeah.
know what's going on. All we know is what's being shown to us at face value.
Correct. And hopefully, if you ever do take the time to disconnect and take that detachment and step back, you're able to see things better, right? The actual whole picture becomes a lot clearer. So that's what I encourage people to do. You know, don't do politics 24/7. Because I hear people talking politics all the time. Get out of the politics and actually look at the policies, look at how it affects the majority of Americans overall. That's what I would say.
100%. Hey, it's the Latin Walls family. If you guys learned anything from this episode or enjoyed this episode, please share this with one other person. Like, comment, subscribe. And there's another interview that's coming out this Friday, and I think Jeremiah is really going to appreciate it. Just to give you a little preview, it's about a couple that moved from Florida to Puerto Rico, and
Let's
they've
go.
been buying and fixing and flipping properties out there. That episode will be out this Friday. I'm excited for that one to come out. It's super dope and
Me
it's
too.
very, very relatable for anybody out there that wants to do the same thing or is interested on moving back to the island. They gave some very practical advice. They gave numbers, how much they sold things for, how much they bought things for. So look out for that episode this Friday. The Latin Wealth family. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace, guys.